Hello, everybody. This is Victor here from Trend Following Trading for Beginners, and here's my weekly update on my sample trading portfolio coming up next. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another one of my episodes. And basically, this week is rather quiet. It's Christmas week, so eventually we have in U.S. market it's only up like 4.5 days, and the market more or less just range bound again within the up and down around the 30,000 mark on the U.S. Dow Jones, and nothing much. The biggest things really is I think is Bitcoin just continue just moving up, and once it broke the 20,000 marks, now I believe it's on the 26,000 over the holiday period, and it just continue to move up. It's doing fantastically well for people who track the BTC like I do and bet on that one way or another, and hope you guys are still there. I have no idea when the gravy trade will stop, but it looks like it's continuing to be there, so just stay there. Overall, the whole week is more or less like up and down like a yo-yo on Dow Jones, up down a couple hundred points, up a little bit, and up in 100 points, and then more or less stay back down, within the range, just still below 30,300 area or 30,400, but haven't broke below 29,000 much, or even below 30,000. So just up and down, up and down. And obviously, because it's Christmas week, everything is rather quiet. The other thing worth mentioning is Tesla finally got into S&P 500. And Monday was the first day that it is part of the indices. And it's a non-event. Actually, the share went down $45, I believe. And it's not doing well. But it's still on a buy signal at the moment as far as my trading system is concerned. Then nothing much happened until Thursday. Suddenly there was a big drop in Alibaba because antitrust probe from the Chinese government into how Alibaba allowed its people put the stuff onto the Taobao and Tmall to sell the stuff. Basically, in China, there's this old saying that you can only choose one. If you want to, for small businesses selling things on Alibaba, it's not much of an issue. You always want to get on Alibaba because it's got one of the biggest market and lots of people using it. But when you are big and have some noticeable brand, you don't just want to be on Alibaba. But unfortunately, in China, the online business basically is either you be with me or against me. So you can only advertise your ware in one place, and Alibaba is no difference doing that. Obviously, he's the biggest among the e-commerce market. Then obviously got stamped on the most. So this choose from two kind of things really whack on Alibaba. It's not just for Alibaba; it's all for e-commerce stuff that's selling things online on the e-market, so to speak. Kind of thing. And Alibaba obviously is the biggest player on their market, so obviously get a bit step on. But over, the other thing is also worth mentioning is Alibaba link with Jack Ma, and obviously with the Ant Group. And there's just so much speculations going on in Asia talking about why suddenly Alibaba has been probed into. There's been this choose one from two kind of things that's always been around, and why suddenly the Chinese government comes in. I think overall it's all boils down to what I said last time with the Ant Group stuff. Alibaba is part of the Jack Ma groups, obviously, and since it's outburst from the Bund Summit in Shanghai back in November time, then basically I think the whole thing goes down south. So not just Ant Group is a bit in trouble now with the regulator, but I think overall whatever Jack Ma's outburst have, in a way his outburst he tried to voice his concern, but his anger, but the way he actually says it, and Chinese being Chinese, with the government, they won't face with him so outspoken right in front of the regulator and stuff. I think a lot of people in high power got to be quite upset with him, and so rather than just looking at anger, is looking across what he does. But He already not that much involved in Alibaba anyway, so I think this impact on Alibaba may be a bit limited, but obviously can look at it anyway. But I think the main problem will be Jack Ma's Ant Group, so I'm not quite sure when it will come back out IPO again, but if it does, probably 12 months, maybe 18 months time. If it ever does, then it probably will be a much lower valuation. But that's one thing on that one. But I think overall, Alibaba being one of the biggest e-commerce player in China, yes, the price have dropped down quite a lot. I think on Thursday went down to like 13% or something. So overall, there might be quite a bit of jittering in the market so far, but I think over time it will be able to recover later on. But probably not for anytime soon. The market basically is quite sour on that front. But I still believe unless Alibaba get broken up by the Chinese government, I think its strength is still there. I mean, if you look into Alibaba, the main strength it has is basically obviously it's online marketplace, Taobao and Tmall, but obviously Jack Ma also talk about is big data, and then the Ant Group, the payment thing. But I think the other thing not many people talk about is the distribution of sending goods, fast network kind of thing. A bit like Amazon. You order today, you get send it out and receive by tomorrow or within 40 hours. Remember, China is a big place, and Alibaba works on basically cover a lot of areas within China, and that distribution system is also huge as well. Now, each one of them, you look at it, it could be because of the size of Alibaba, could be quite dominant within its own area. And if the government really want to have a go at breaking up on Alibaba, then each one of them probably will be separated into 4 different segments, 4 different separate companies or something. But I think overall, the Chinese government is not going to do that. They just want to. I think it's a balance between have a better practices, better control of how e-commerce grows in China, but it doesn't want to snip it out because e-commerce has been, cashless payment, so to speak. It's a big thing in China, and I don't think the Chinese government is going to stop that. But we just have to wait and see. Anyway, so the other thing, obviously, the big things this time around, this weekend, I think, is the Brexit. Finally, it's 11 hours, so to speak. Europe and UK have finally agreed with the Brexit deal, and it just need to be rectified by British government as well as the European Union. But deal is a deal nevertheless. But at least it's gone there, and so at least there's something. I think that's happened on Christmas Eve, so on the 24th, on Thursday. So not too bad. That's a good news for British. Anyway, I think that at the end of the day, we all want to get out from Europe, want a bit more of our control of our borders and our life back. But we just have to see how it all pans out in the next couple of years, so to speak. The other thing, obviously, the big thing is the stimulus package that has been passed through in Congress in the U.S. But then Donald Trump, I think on Wednesday or something, vetoed it and dumped it back to the Congress, tell them to relook at it. Basically, Donald Trump is saying instead of $600 for all each of the family or something who is to help the pandemic issue. Donald Trump wants $2,000 US dollars for each of the member of the family, and he also want to reduce foreign aid. I'm not quite sure about $2,000 if US can afford it, so to speak. But if he get what he wants, I think it shouldn't be too much of a trouble because he also want to reduce in foreign aid to other countries. So I this one I think is sensible because you want to help other people, other country. I think first of all you need to help yourself first. To be like the airline issue when you have a major issue and the the airbags come down first from the top of your head. You're supposed to help yourself first, and then you help the one next to you, your loved one. So it's the same thing here for the country. If you cannot help yourself, how can you help other people? So I agree with him on that front, but we'll just have to see what happens on Monday when the Congress actually look into the bill and see if they actually pass something. Because I think the U.S. people really is in a desperate moment. They need those extra money. A lot of people are unemployed. A lot of people are carrying off food bank, and a lot of people just lost the job, so to speak. And it's not good. The extra $2,000 probably helps a bit, but how long the big question is how long can the government, next time we won't be Donald Trump, will be Joe Biden, president-elect, to come in with any other stimulus package. How long can the U.S. government continue to just print money and just give to people? They really need to kickstart the economy, but the economy cannot restart, so to speak, with until we got the vaccination done properly. At the end of the day is. Even with the vaccines are available in U.S. now around the world, it's still early stage. I personally just don't, pardon my language, I just really don't believe those um, uh, statistics that all these companies shows up, because the pool and the size of people that they test and also the length of time is so small, because it's emergency and they just rush out the vaccine. We don't know the actual vaccine how affect the general public, and if person have one vaccination done, would it be effective to mutated form of the virus? In, let's say, in UK now, in east of UK, London, the new form of the COVID-19, would it be effective? Would the vaccine be effective to those? What about the one from South Africa, so to speak, I think, and they also another new strain mutation as well. So just wonder how the vaccine will help at the moment. So nobody knows. I think we all have to wait and see until next year. But the market on the whole, we just already really gone up really high, expecting the vaccine to work. But the reality is on the street, so to speak, things might not be as rosy as it seems, and it might be a bit of an issue. So I think we just have quite a bit of got carried away, so to speak, in the stock market. It's not just the US but around the world as well. If you look at the indexes in Asia as well as in Europe, they all gone up pretty high, and as if the vaccine definitely will work. But until it's been used widely by a lot of countries, a lot of people, and then we'll see what the outcome may be. But the other thing also, I don't think anybody much talk about it, is okay. You're good that we have vaccine, but who gets them first? It's always the big boys get it. So people with money, or in this case, country or with power. So U.S. always get it first. Europe might get it. So Chinese is using their own vaccination vaccine, its own people. But what about Africa? I'm not talking about South Africa, but the whole African continent and Middle East. A lot of them don't have much money as a government such, and the smaller countries, they might not have enough influence to stick their hands up to say, I want some vaccination of medicine available to us too. How much they will actually get, nobody really talks about it. Vaccination is not just for the developed or developing country. We have lots of money, but it's for everyone. And we have 7.8 billion people really in this whole world. Let's say just 8 billion, for example. To actually vaccinate everybody, it takes time. Probably take at least a year, maybe two. And then you have the questions about if the vaccines actually works or not, and there's so much variation of different vaccines might affect different people based on the genetics, so to speak, and also the countries, with the country able to get those vaccines. I mean, WHO should stand up and just say, give organize this perhaps, and then make sure that some of that also gets shared with some countries. For example, in India, for example, in Sri Lanka, those kind of places. What happened is Sudan or Ethiopia, and how those people living in those countries get a vaccine as well. Otherwise, until we got mass amount of people vaccinated, and it showed to me working, I don't think the general traveling within the country as well as international traveling will recover. So next year probably will be a year of recovery, but it'll be quite a slow one, probably near the back end when more people get vaccinated. But I'm still very doubtful with all the vaccines going on. Obviously, they have some side effects. Hopefully, they are small and able to manage those. But if some big hoo-ha comes out, what happens? And then also we have the virus mutation happening, and then we have no idea how that will work. If let's say whatever we found in UK, this new variant is much more infectious, and then it's also easier to transmit, much more powerful, causes other side issue. Even with people with vaccination already, then I think the whole market will come down again as well. So we don't quite know what the side effect might be at this stage. So on the vaccination side, we just have to wait and see how it goes on the whole. So that's basically more or less what happened this basic whole week. Is hardly anything is happening. But one side note though, I don't know what prompted Musk say it. I think probably Apple was saying they would to try to get into electric automatic cars area, and then Elon Musk actually said. Back, I think, a couple of years ago, he actually approached Tim Cook and tried to sell a Tesla to Apple, and Apple wasn't interested. So suddenly, within a couple of years or so, Apple turned around and say, "Oh, I will produce my own electronic vehicle." It's quite a bit. So I'm not quite sure how sensible it is. We just have to wait and see how Apple might come up with its own version of maybe little Apple card running around. Who knows? It's just very difficult to say this year. And the other thing, I think there's a lot happening already within UK. Is also going on in US and around the world. It is that a lot of big company, not just small company, just couldn't continue renting places, especially those. Chain company with lots of shops and chains around the whole country, that kind of thing, shops around the country. They've been asking a lot of the commercial landlord to reduce the rent or to take a haircut, so to speak, so 50% reduction of rent for the next 6 months or something. Some company able to weather the storm. Some are still paying their full rent. Others just couldn't at all, and others even go to the wall. So next year, even with the vaccines coming out, not many people talk about. And it's some sporadic talk on some news, but it's basically when people lost their job, the company couldn't continue. A lot of commercial lease and even private residents, landlord, both commercial and private resident landlords will be suffering, and they will go to the walls. So it's not just people losing their jobs, the companies go bankrupt, but all those supply chains, people supply the food packages, frozen food, the cars, the freezing system, the cleaning, the cleaners, and then the rental space, that kind of thing, and also the local taxes. And the local government couldn't receive taxes because nobody's. A lot of shops are shut down. A lot of people not working. How is that going to work? So next year there's the other big thing that comes out maybe. As far as I can see, anybody can see, it's a lot of insolvency. So companies who specialize in insolvencies, bankruptcies and stuff, probably very busy. Now, some of the companies can be saved by other companies. A lot of them won't, and they will have to sell the stuff as well. So a lot of the used goods, that they have to sell that on as well. So some of those companies probably is a big, small little bright spot for next year as more and more company goes to the wall. Those companies' stocks and stuff and winding down of those company will have to take place. So probably take maybe 12 or 18 months or maybe 2 years. So if the other bright spot for me, rather than just look at this US dollar index, is also the winding down of these companies and those companies involved in insolvencies, basically bankruptcies, and selling remaining stocks and used stocks, from, let's say, a cafeteria or a hotel or something. Those probably will be quite busy next year, so you can get into some of those stocks, and I think probably make some money next year. So next will be the update on my portfolio. Okay, first off the bat is Apple is buy across the board. So even the System 2, Total System 2 is turned buy again. So it's not too bad for Apple. So buy short term, medium term, long term. Amazon, short term is still a sell, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy, no change from last week. Australian dollar to US dollar, again same as last week, buy across the board. Australian dollar have gone to 0.76 area, but it's still going back down to 0.75-ish. So the US dollar index seems to recover a little bit, but it looks very weak from where I'm looking. It's gone below the 90 mark and then try to break back above it, having issue even touching 91.50. I don't think even broken 91 at all, and then just hovering around just above 90 mark, 90.3 that count mark. So that sort of will basically help out all the other crosses against US dollars to continue to strengthen. We just wait and see. Next is Brent crude, buy across the board. Again, same as WTI, US crude oil, also buy across the board. So not much changes here. US dollar index definitely going to have a impact on anything that rated in US dollars. And for crude oil in particular, I think with the recovery of people can travel within their own country, some lockdowns just happen in US or Hong Kong as well as in UK as well, in Europe. But I think on the whole, people were just traveling a bit within their own border, in their own country. But however, international traveling in mass, it will be quite difficult until a lot of people get vaccinated. People are happy to travel, sitting beside each other. So I think overall, Brent could still have some legs and continue, but rather slow burn kind of thing. But if the US dollars index, I think, is going to collapse or at least going down much below that $90 mark, then even though there's not enough people using crude oil and Brent crude to actually drive it up the usage wise, but because US dollars have gone weaker, the cost of Brent crude and WTI crude oil will also go up. So we just have to wait and see how fast it goes next year. Next is stacks. Short term now have changed to sell, medium and long term still buy, so a bit of volatility during the last week, so to speak. Dow Jones continue to be buy across the board. Short term, medium term, and long term is still buy. FTSE 100, similar stacks. Short term is changed to sell, and then medium and long term is still buy. Gold, on the other hand, short term is a buy, medium is neutral, long term is a buy. So you have recovered like last week or so, still stay above 1850 area. I think it's around 1870 at the moment, there and about. So long about 1850 holds, I think that should be good. Next is Hang Seng Index. Short term is still a sell, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy, no different from last week. Nasdaq, same as the Dow Jones, buy across the board, short, medium, and long term all buy. Nikkei just following the US, and yes, buy across the board, short term, medium term, and long term. There's talks of because of the COVID-19 mutation and worry about the vaccination will actually work. There's talks of the Olympics has been supposed to be for this year, has been delayed to next year at the moment, maybe even further delayed. So we don't quite know what will happen. If that happens or got cancelled, then Japan will really feel the pinch because they spend a lot of money building a lot of infrastructure, and then if the Olympic doesn't happen, it will really get hurt. We just have to wait and see what happens next year. Next is silver, same as gold. Short term is a buy, medium neutral, long term is a buy, so it's slightly recovering there, not too bad. Next is US dollar against Chinese dollar, Chinese yuan. This show across the board, basically that means the Chinese dollar is strengthening, so there's no difference here. If you look at the chart, I forgot to mention a couple of weeks ago, basically there is a small divergence on the MACD chart. Not just using the default MACD. But at the moment, this looks like the Chinese dollar is having difficulties going further down. That means increasing its strength even further against US dollar. So it could be because the US dollars index have recovered a bit, but we just have to wait and see. But it's continued to sell across the board. Next is US dollar against Japanese yen, same as the Chinese yuan, basically sell across the board. Bit of safe haven, they're still hovering around 103 area, not much change. Next is British pound against Japanese yen. Buy for short term, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy, so slight change here from last week. and next is also British pound against US dollars. It's buy across the board. Now with the Brexit that happens, according to my chart on Friday, even though it's Christmas, it got some data, because obviously Forex never stops, even though people are celebrating around the world for Christmas. The British pound against US dollar seems to have come down a bit from I think 1.36 to 1.34 or 35 area. Who knows? Just have to wait and see when the proper data comes in. But we just have to see what the big impact of the Brexit deal will be on British pound. I think a lot of people are pricing a deal. That's why it's gone towards the 1.36 area. It might even touch 1.37, but then as the details comes out a bit more, they might not be as jubilant, as good for the British pound. So it can be quite volatile for British pounds against the US dollar. Next is Bitcoin. Like I said earlier, it's gone above. The ones it broken 20,000 is now I think about 20 between 24 26,000. That's only a matter of like a couple of weeks. So all those people and Bitcoins will continue to stay at buy. So my system is saying short, medium, and long term still buy. There are people even projecting to 40,000 marks or something. I don't know. I have no idea what actually gone up there. But as far as I'm concerned, for trend following, I really hope everything go to the moon. So in this case, when it's in a buy mode across the board, that means it's very strong. So 2 ATR system, the Turtle S2 system, as well as my normal 50-day over 20-day moving average, all pointing to going up. So that means the trend is really strong for Bitcoin in general. So stay long for all I know. Next is iShare 20 TLT ETF. Short term is a buy, medium neutral, long term is a sell. So it just basically it's going to be sideways for this TLT at the moment. Yes, it's short term is a buy, but medium term is neutral, long term is sell. So it's going to give a very mixed signals, and you have the the Dow Jones and the main indices in US is all pointing up. So I'm not quite sure how. For this TLT probably goes sideways for a while. Next is Tesla. It's buy across the board, short, medium, and long term is a buy. Even though with the $45 or so drop on Monday, didn't really affect it. It's still on a relatively uptrend, so still intact. Next is the Australian index. XJO, I believe. Short term is a sell, so same as the European indexes. Short and medium and long term is still a buy. So we just have to wait and see. Now for this week, I've added Alibaba because of these antitrust things, and also the Ant Group debacle. I think overall, when I look at the chart, there's a case in point here to add into it, just because a lot more people are looking at Jack Ma, Alibaba, indirectly, it's an indirect play to Ant Group. So we'll see how it goes. But I feel personally Alibaba is just more like, eBay, that kind of thing, which it has beaten eBay, has beaten Amazon, and become very big in China. And with the size and breadth, and with Alibaba, I think it can probably survive this antitrust. Now, last time I think Alibaba as well as Tencent has been found to abusing its power, I think monopoly power, whatever it is, and it's been fined by the Chinese regulator, but it seems like less than $1 million Chinese dollar. So it's very, very small fine for big gorilla, so to speak, for Alibaba. Is absolutely nothing. So if this antitrust probe comes in, and the fine, if anything similar to that, I think it's just like a lot of noise, but does it actually hurt Alibaba? I don't think so. But really depends on how the government do things, though, because Jack Ma is no longer really in charge or doing things in the background, pushing where Alibaba is going, and he's more into the Ant Group. But it does have indirect link with Jack Ma, and the government might, due to Jack Ma's outburst back in Shanghai in October, yes, more or less, I think it shamed the government into action. And obviously, to me anyway, you try to shame the government, try to force the debate on changing the regulation so Ant Group can operate in a better regulatory environment. I think he probably have miscalculated, so I don't think Ant Group IPO will be anything soon. Chairman will be optimistic, maybe a bit further down the road, but that also indirectly might hurt Alibaba as well. Even though he's no longer in charge, Alibaba is his child, so to speak, has been his creation, and we just have to wait and see how things are. So the politics in the background, I think a lot of people in the Western world, especially in US, don't really look into that too much, but we just have to wait and see. But also in place, Alibaba doesn't get into this size without a nod from the Chinese Communist government to allow it to grow into this size. With Jack Ma outbursts and not being a good boy with the Chinese government, it might be knocked down on the size, might be get put to breaking up, that kind of thing. But I think on the other hand, you ought to understand who is actually backing Alibaba as well as the Ant Group. I think overall there might be, from as far as I'm concerned, what I'm hearing from Asia is, I think Alibaba will be okay, will still be intact, but probably got a large fine, probably a couple $1 million or something. A bit bigger than the fine before, but then we're still allowed to continue. And I think overall the Chinese government, because of the Jack Ma outburst, it has been thinking about for quite some time how to monitor the e-commerce and then regulate all the e-commerce system in China, and has been quite reluctant to do so because he doesn't want to snip out the growth, because a lot of this e-commerce, especially Alibaba, the biggest player here, is helping to people to buy and sell things online and creating economy, and also sucking external suppliers from, let's say, Europe to sell things into China, the Chinese middle class, which basically generate a lot of revenue. And China really wants to have a buoyant, internal consumption, so to speak. And I don't think we want to snip out the Alibaba thing, but we just have to wait and see how things go. So this week I basically included here just out of interest, and I think Alibaba at the moment is sell across the board. So short, medium term, and long term is a sell. I'm including here to see how track how it go. But from my point of view, is this share has been quite volatile. So using a long-term system may be a better bet on it. At the moment, long-term systems say sell. So all those people who have share on it last Thursday on Christmas Eve got a big gift from the Chinese government, and then sort of hurt the Alibaba share. I think if you got anything in hand, it's time to just get out first. And if you can short the Alibaba share, just short it. And we just have to wait and see how things turn out. For big company like this, breaking the 200-day moving average in a big one go, it won't stay down there for long, probably recover. To me, it's a bit. Just come to my mind a bit like Twitter before. It dropped down quite a bit previously, broken below 200 moving average. I think it was sometime last year or even the year before, but it recovered and then slowly come back up again. So the recovery probably a bit slow, maybe 3 to 6 months. But I think Alibaba itself is a very strong company. It served the middle class really well in China, and selling things is forte, a very good distribution system, and irrespective how Ant Group turns out, it still have a good payment system, so as we can use. And also we have the Taobao and the Tmall kind of things, online marketplace to sell things, and with the emphasis of more cashless society in China, which is in line with what the Chinese government wants, I think Alibaba most likely can survive. And also Jack Ma, irrespective of what he said, he's no longer really in charge of Alibaba now. He must still got shares in it, but it's not really driving where it is going. And so I think overall he probably will not get the Chinese government to stem on it hard. He probably stem a lot more harder on Ant Group kind of thing. So we'll leave Alibaba alone. But the sentiment at the moment is not good. So fundamentally, I personally feel this is a strong company. Shouldn't just get out from your portfolio if you have any of it. But short-term wise, sentiment is driven. The short-term move of these shares is sell across the board. So we just have to wait and see how things will turn up. Basically, anyway, this is the end of my podcast, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye for now.